When you play the Game of Thrones,
Subscribe and like.
you die. There is no middle ground.
All right, hello guys, welcome back to the Grease Goblin YouTube channel. In today's video, we're gonna be doing day 23 of the 25 days of Winds of Winter, kind of getting closer to the end of the event, and especially for Christmas week, we're going to be doing a very cheerful character in Qyburn. Yes, a very hero-esque character in the story, some would say. And yes, I'm joking. But yeah, Qyburn, interesting character, right? We know that this character, he pops up, early on in the story with a Clash of Kings and a Storm of Swords. He's this weird character that seems to have been stripped of his maester's chain because he was doing a lot of experiments deemed not fit for a maester. And so he kind of falls into the Brave Companions company. Now, why would somebody like a maester or an ex-maester be going with the Brave Companions? Who knows? But Qyburn, right off the get-go, is somebody that is very manipulative. He is somebody that is also very intelligent. Like, he's somebody that's able to save Jaime's arm and, after his hand is cut off and all that stuff. But Qyburn is somebody that, imagine you're at work and there's this one person that always kisses up to the boss or whatever. That's Qyburn. Qyburn is somebody that tries to kiss up to people like Jaime Lannister, something that Jaime very much does not like in Qyburn. Like, for instance, once Jaime is healed from his injury, he tries to send up Paya to basically seduce him and get in good graces with the Lannisters. Qyburn then even accompanies Jaime back to King's Landing, hoping for some reward from Tywin. Roose Bolton speculates that, it's to give him his chain back. But that is something that's weird because Qyburn doesn't necessarily ever ask for his chain back, even when Cersei comes into power. So there's a lot to kind of speculate on the character of Qyburn. We don't really know his true motivations. We don't know if he's somebody that, is, let's put it in these terms, because we can't say a certain word on YouTube. Is he comparable to like a German scientist during the World War II era where he wants to try and progress, science or education, and he does it in very awful ways that are harmful to individuals? That could be very possible. He's somebody that's just maybe curious or even psychopathic about, the human body and progressing and evolving more or less. That is something that I think really could motivate a character like Qyburn. Qyburn in the show was a character that was never like someone that used his power to be very rich looking, for instance. Like, Qyburn dresses very plain in the show. He seems still very like dirty and not clean. The Qyburn of the book is actually a bit different. Like, after Qyburn is named to the small council, we actually see him, wearing a bit nicer clothing. And multiple times Qyburn tries to get more money from Cersei for this thing or that. And so Qyburn is in a weird spot because he is basically Cersei's closest advisor, right? Cersei completely relies upon Qyburn. You even see that in her darkest moments in A Feast for Crows, where she's basically begging for help from someone like Jaime. She turns to Qyburn. Qyburn's the only person that even really visits her. She's completely isolated herself, and so Qyburn has become somebody that has become dependent. Now, Qyburn himself is also extremely dependent on Cersei. We even see after Cersei loses power, he is almost completely stripped of his own power outside of being able to keep his spy network. He is somebody that is the one that is reporting the information on the Golden Company and Nymeria Sand to the small council and Kevin in A Dance with Dragons at the very end of the book. So Qyburn is somebody that also realizes his power is completely tied to Cersei at this time, in which I think he knows that, right? And so Cersei getting out of all this stuff alive and well is very much in Qyburn's interest. So one motivation that Qyburn will have is going to be backing Cersei basically completely until he's in a point where he has whatever he wants, more or less. And I do think a lot of what Qyburn is motivated by is just having the resources to be able to do his experiments without being put down or his money source ending. And so how does he do that, right? And so Qyburn is somebody that is going to continue to support Cersei, especially now with Kevin gone. Mace Tyrell has left the capital. Randall Tarley has left the capital. Lord Redwine is not actually even at the capital right now, right? He was at Dragonstone. Now he's heading over to the west to help with Euron Greyjoy. So all of these main people that would maybe contest Cersei for power are not actually at King's Landing anymore. And so I think it will be basically back to Feast for Crows. Cersei and Qyburn trying to take down the Faith, trying to take down Marjorie, trying to take down all these different people. And so Qyburn will be very influential in a lot of those things. He's somebody that is basically almost like a lot of ways one of Maegor the Cruel's wives, where kind of Qyburn is in control of torturing people and spying for her, all these different things. And so when you have this character of Qyburn and his importance, well, his importance is going to be on information, knowing what people are trying to betray Cersei, and also being able to manipulate people to her side, or even getting rid of people like she does with somebody like Felice Stokeworth after she's kicked out of her own castle by Bronn, something we talked about in yesterday's video. So going forward, I expect that Qyburn will be very influential in Cersei finding any type of wildfire, being crucial in any of Cersei's actions that she may do to lash out against people like the Sand Snakes, the Faith, all these different types of people. Young Griff, for instance, he will be pivotal to those things. Now, I don't think Qyburn's going to die in this book. I think Qyburn will escape with Cersei. It makes the most amount of sense that Cersei would take Qyburn with her. And so I think that eventually Qyburn will be a character that will end up meeting up with Euron at some point as well, which could be very interesting given that Euron's a very magical character. I think that someone like Qyburn would be very fascinated with the character of Euron. And so, long story short, when we look at this character of Qyburn and where I expect him to go, it really just is to follow around Cersei. Qyburn is not somebody that can function on his own, right? If he was to say, stop supporting Cersei, well, how would he then get his incomes? How would he then support himself? He hasn't been in power long enough to kind of start doing those things. How, you know, for instance, somebody like Littlefinger, when he's appointed his position in King's Landing, he starts then making incomes and all these things. Well, Qyburn's not at that point. He's only been in King's Landing for a very small amount of time, and all of his power has been with Cersei. So I expect that Qyburn himself will start to try and do those things, getting himself in a position where he's not as dependent on Cersei as he starts to see maybe her downfall. But I don't think he's going to have enough time to do those things. So I think he will stay very loyal to Cersei for the most part, following her to Casterly Rock. And also, I think being a big person in doing any type of like blowing up of a certain like part of the High Sparrow and his regime. Don't think it'll be like the Sept of Baelor where we blow up all of our main characters and the High Sparrow and all the sparrows just go away just like that. Not going to happen that way. And if it does happen that way, where we have the Sept of Baelor, you know, blowing up and Marjorie dying and the High Sparrow dying, all these people dying, it's going to have massive repercussions that could easily lead to even more reason as to why Cersei has to leave, because the public's completely against her. So that is, long story short, where I feel like the character of Qyburn is going. I think he'll follow kind of the same beats of the show, where he will be this kind of lackey of Cersei's, but won't actually have much that he can do individually himself. Another part I didn't even really bring up in this video, you know, you think about the Mountain. Somehow it seems like Qyburn has saved the character of the Mountain, who has become like this undead zombie-esque creature. Very interesting if maybe Qyburn could make more of those type of people for Cersei. Who knows if that was taking blood magic or anything like that, given the fact that a lot of people would have died under Qyburn's care. Who knows what possibly could be going on there. I do expect the Mountain to be very like loyal to Cersei as well, so we'll have to see how that plays out. But that'll get us to day 24. We're going to be talking about, on Christmas Eve, the character of the Hound. I know one of your guys' favorites. I myself, of every character I did not do in year one, I think this character and Euron were the two I was the most surprised I didn't do. I can understand why I didn't, because the Hound has been out of the story for basically 2 books now. We have probably seen him, but he hasn't been like a major character. But I hope you guys all are excited to talk about the Hound. I actually haven't talked about this character in its own video, or in his own video, and I would say a number of years. So I'm really excited to talk about that one for you guys. And then we'll end out with Mel, Shireen, Selyse, and Patchface on Christmas Day. But bye, guys. I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.